USC at Michigan, 3:30 Eastern, CBS. The CBS theme. So that SEC on CBS theme you used to hear, that is now going to be with this game at the Big House in Ann Arbor. USC fans, Michigan fans, college football fans, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel, covering this sport every single day of the year. So we appreciate y'all for honoring the sport in an every single day of the year fashion, just like us. Also, want to let y'all know, the Hard Count is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. All you got to do is pick 2 or more player projections, pick them more or less on their projected stats. You got to line up, you're off to the races. Now, here's the important part. When you use code HARDCOUNT, 1, it's a great way to support the show, so thank you for that. 2, just $5 in lineups gets you $50 in promo funds, even if you don't win. So, appreciate y'all using that code. Appreciate y'all subscribing. Now back to the prediction. USC, 5.5-point favorites. We'll start with talking about Michigan because they're the home team. They're trying to hit reset a little bit here, you know? And they have only dropped the Texas game against Arkansas State. Didn't look as dominant as you would have hoped they would look. A big reason for that, kept giving the football away. All right, so Davis Warren, unfortunately, it's like, hey, we got to make a switch here. Davis Warren, we love you. Alex Orji, we feel like right now is going to give us a better chance to win football games. So they announced that yesterday. They made that switch during the game. Here's the opportunity for Michigan. There's a ton on the table for USC, and we'll talk about that. But for Michigan now, they're trying to hit reset on their season. If you go beat USC with all the buzz they've generated at this point in the year, you beat LSU, they beat Utah State and shut them out, and Utah State is Utah State, but point remains the same. You beat USC, I think at that point you say, okay, we fixed the quarterback position, we fixed the offense, we're still Michigan. We still won the whole darn thing a year ago. And if you are still trying to calibrate your brain to the college football playoff with 12 teams now, Michigan is very much so still in the hunt. Like, are they, the favorite right now to make the college football playoff after the way they looked against Texas? Probably not. But again, you hit reset, you beat USC. They say this a lot on College Game Day, and I think it's hilarious because I think it's true. Now we go. That happened? Okay, now we go. I love that. That could be Michigan if they end up beating USC. Now for USC, this opportunity is massive. It's another reason to be subscribed to this channel because we do shorter one-off segments that live on this channel, not in the live show. But we talked about USC and the opportunity for them yesterday. This is a chance to totally flip the optics on what we have perceived a Lincoln Riley coach team to be. Because what have we always said about them? Hey, good offense. He's always going to have a quarterback. They're always going to be, able to score points. But defensively, man, they just get ragdolled. They just get absolutely just taken to the woodshed. Just belt to behind when it comes to that defense. Well, hired a whole new staff. Danton Lynn doing his thing on that side of the football. Held LSU to 20 points. If you go to Ann Arbor and beat a team that has been the epitome of what the Big Ten is, they've won the Big Ten in the last 3 years, you go beat them, it's like, okay, hey, USC now. They can hang. Maybe they did fix that defense. Maybe they are a more physical outfit. That's the optics side. Think about the internal side. If you're USC, you go beat the defending national champions at their place. Think about what that would do from a confidence perspective for that defense. Look in the mirror and see themselves as actually a unit that can maybe contend for winning the Big Ten. I'm just saying, there's a lot at stake here, not even to mention the recruiting impact there. You can market yourself as a more physical outfit that way, where you're headed, all those things. Not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but a lot on the table here for both teams, needless to say. Now, if I'm USC, I'm watching the heck out of that Texas game for a number of reasons. Obviously, you had the bye week, which is huge, but the blueprint that Texas, I think, put on the table for Lincoln Riley and company, it would get me fired up. Because I think if we talk about this in terms of a boxing match, Texas did a great job kind of dancing around the ring. And dancing sounds like it has a negative connotation to it. They understood, hey, the strength of that Michigan defense. Those two big boys in the middle, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. They're both Sunday players. We have to find a way to try and, circumnavigate this defense. We can't just try and go up the middle with them. That's a losing game. Why would we do that? So Lincoln Riley, what does he do? He's aggressive with the play calling. They come out swinging, throwing the football all over the place. They're creative. They got window dressing. They made those big boys in the middle run sideline to sideline. And eventually, just the law of nature, Only so much stamina you can have at that size. It's not to knock them. It's just kind of a reality, and I think it's a great game plan by Sark. Play the game in space. I think Lincoln Riley, I would be wildly surprised if he doesn't try and do the exact same thing. Might look a little bit different. They might do a little bit more perimeter run game than we saw Texas do to start. I don't know if they'll come out swinging with Miller Moss the same way that Texas did with Quinn Ewers, but I do think it's still that same matchup. Lincoln Riley, what he does offensively, versus Wink Martindale and what he's doing schematically against USC. Because, I mean, if you think Michigan's going to be the same exact outfit they trotted out there against Texas, they also watched the tape from that game too, okay? As I mentioned, the bye week, though, for this is huge. Giving Miller Moss a full week to prep in this game plan, to get comfortable with what they're doing going into this game, I think that's absolutely massive. Because the reason why Texas was so successful to do this, in my mind, it was kind of two facets to it that USC has to execute. Quinn Ewers, in his experience, he was seeing the whole picture. Moment wasn't too big. Game wasn't too fast. Like, he was steady. He was poised in that moment. Miller Moss, it's his first year being the guy at USC. He's waited his turn. I think he's well-versed in the system, but the same thing has to be true. He has to see the whole picture now. He can't get tunnel vision and fall victim to the deception that Wink Martindale is throwing out there for him. The other part of this, Texas and the weaponry they had on the perimeter, let's be real here. That was the difference for Texas. I mean, there was a number of differences for Texas, but that was a decisive advantage. They were able to go out and attack those matchups. They felt good about those matchups. I don't know that USC has the same perimeter skill that Texas does, which is not saying a lot, as Texas has some of the best perimeter skill in America, but we're going to see. Because outside of Will Johnson, I think you're also not 100% sure what Michigan has in that secondary, okay? So I keep going back to that Fresno State game. It was the first game of the year, but Fresno State seemed very comfortable swinging their sword and taking some shots, and they hit on a few and had a couple that were so close that probably could have changed at least the final score of that game being a little bit closer than it was. So USC, they'll go after him. If Miller Moss can walk the straight and narrow and see the whole picture, they'll be in good shape. If not, it's going to be Will Johnson going the other way, hail to the victors playing all day. It's going to be a very, very long afternoon if he's not able to see the whole picture from Wink Martindale. Now, for Michigan, again, if they're able to sort of outlast that first wave that Lincoln Riley brings at them with the aggression on the perimeter and can turn it back into hey, you got to play us in the phone booth, that's Michigan winning all day, every day. Like, as much as we want to say about USC improving in the interior of the offensive and defensive line, I still don't think they're necessarily at the level that Michigan's at right now. Now, for Michigan, this hasn't really been talked about a whole lot, and I'm a little bit curious as to why. I think Michigan has a massive edge in this game, a massive ace up their sleeve, and I'm curious to see how they play it. Because Alex Orji, you've seen him sparingly. You've seen him return kicks a year ago for Michigan. You see him have these specific packages where he's running the football. But, we have not seen an entire offensive scheme predicated on Alex Orji's skill set. And I said this yesterday. I'm going to say it again. You commit to Alex Orji and the entire experience that he is as a quarterback. If you trot out there and say, hey, just run the Davis Warren offense. No, this is who we are. This is who we are. You got to play quarterback within our system. Alex Orji isn't Davis Warren. They're different skill sets they bring to the table. And I feel like Sharon Moore is more than aware of that, but I'm just curious to see how that plays out in real time. Because you commit to Alex Orji the same way that you got to commit to playing charades at a game night with your friends. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. It's a little bit awkward. It's new, but hey, you got to commit to it. You got to be creative, and that's going to allow you to have success. Same thing with Alex Orji in this offense. If we just go out there and run a bunch of read option and it's no, pre-snap motion and it's a lot of the same looks that we've already seen from him from years past, it's going to be very, very predictable. But I would say this. I think that for USC defensively, as much as we've seen them improve, I don't know that we have 100% a gauge for who they are just yet. And the shutout against Utah State, awesome. Holding LSU to 20, awesome. However, if LSU executes better in the red zone now, if they get a little bit more than 6 points, those 3 drives inside the 15, that's a very, very different conversation we're having now about USC. Now, again, credit USC for bending, not breaking. All those things are true. But let's align here now. USC still allowed 4.5 yards a carry against LSU. Okay, so I don't know that the USC defense is just like a finished product and fixed just yet. And I think they feel the same way in Los Angeles. But I wouldn't be wildly surprised now if we saw Michigan go out there with that sledgehammer, take a few swings at that Trojan wall, and we saw maybe a few cracks. Now, the big question for me is when we get to the fourth quarter, where are we at with the USC defense? Because I think that's probably who Michigan wants to be overall, especially with Alex Orji playing quarterback. Where is the game at in the fourth quarter is maybe a better question. Because if USC is able to score points how they want to score points, and it's a similar vibe to the Texas game where USC jumps out, let's say they're up 21 to call it 10 at halftime, I don't know if you can really just do the whole sledgehammer approach anymore. Like at that point, you're kind of chasing points, and it's getting late early at that point in time. So if that's the case that, the game flows, advantage USC probably doing a whole lot of fight on the way home. However, let's call it 17-14. I don't care who has the lead. Call it a 17-14 USC lead. Get to that third quarter, you're still pounding the rock. Get to that fourth quarter. I think at that point in time, we could see the Michigan just overall weight they put on people's backs start to wear on that USC defense. We start to see a little bit more of that smash mouth identity maybe it starts to break USC a little bit. I think that's a very possible scenario. Now, that's not me taking anything away from USC's defense, so we're all on the same page here. Very, very clear. Temperature was different on that side of the football when they played LSU, shutting out Utah State. Like they've made progress. How much progress? I think we find out a lot in this game. So if Michigan can find some juice offensively, and they're able to get Alex Orji rolling, and USC is out of sorts defensively, and the window dressing is there, Michigan's going to win this football game. However, I think Lincoln Riley getting a week to prepare with a how-to manual already on tape with Steve Sarkisian and company with Texas out there now, I have faith that USC is going to score points. I really do. I think if you're a Michigan fan, you hope you score points. That's a tricky place to be against the Lincoln Riley offense. Tricky place to be. Even trickier, I'm not 100% sold that this offense will be two-dimensional enough to be able to get into a track meet with USC. So for that reason, I'm taking USC. Final score, I like USC to score, call it 28, Michigan 21. I had 30 written down. 30 feels a little bit rich. I'll go USC 28, Michigan 21. So we like USC to win. We like USC to cover at the Big House.